Peggy 3.
Hi and welcome to the next Formula 1 2010 Dev Diary.
So when we're working on the car handling, we've basically got two goals from my perspective. It's about making the most authentic experience possible, and it's also about making the car handling predictable and consistent.
I think there's huge interest in terms of the balance that we have for arcade or simulation handling. And personally, my preference has always been to go down the simulation path. You can make a realistic sim easier to play for somebody that is new to racing games or new to Formula 1 in general, but it's very, very difficult to take an arcade handling system and make that appeal to really what we consider to be our core audience of Formula 1, the people that prefer the simulation handling, realistic representation of a car on a circuit, or specifically a Formula 1 car.
Yeah, well, I'm the Brawn test and reserve driver from 2009. Part of that job is developing the simulator as well.
We've had access to the teams, to the engineers, to the drivers.
So what I do is try and bounce my level of expectation off Ant, who gives us a lot of feedback week by week, and it gives us new avenues to explore the car handling.
The onboard footage when you see on TV from these cars, they always look incredibly easy to drive. When you're inside the cars, they're so much more twitchy and nervous. That's one thing that's incredibly hard to get right unless you've got someone that's actually driven these cars. It's something I've really tried to get over in the game, is to make them as twitchy as real life, especially in the slow speed corners where you have no downforce. As soon as you get them up to high speed, they work in a completely different range. It's just getting away from how easy it looks from the onboard footage that really kind of annoys me in a way, because it makes my job look easy and it's not.
To have Ant's input on what it's actually like to drive a car at these kind of speeds, the feeling of that weight shift when you're going through a corner, coming out of a corner, under braking, those things that have to come through in a Formula 1 game if you're going to nail the handling.
So one of our first goals was to re-engineer the car handling from the ground up. We do want a very simulation experience.
And you've got the inclusion of aero, which changes the handling of the car completely. We're not talking about doing huge drifts around corners.
We're tailoring the car handling to a very different market, to that Dirt 2 and Grid. They're very different cars, very different handling.
It's not just about lapping the circuit. It's about being able to be consistent, putting the car on the right line. It's about you controlling the car.
The fans of F1 are very passionate and very knowledgeable, and we want to feed them the most authentic experience they've got.
One thing that racing developers often comment on is the driving aids, and we're trying to come up with some new approach to this. What we don't want to really do is dumb the experience down. It still has to be fun and accessible.
You don't want to make the game as hard as what it is in real life, because otherwise people will be spinning off left, right, centre.
And I think it's very important not to blunt the experience of driving a Formula 1 car, but when you start applying the driving aids, to kind of make it accessible without losing the fun parts. For example, normally turning traction control on dulls the sense of oversteer, and for me, oversteer is fun. You like putting a bit of opposite lock on the car, especially when the rain starts to come down. But the driving aids should just keep those things in check and allow you to stay on the circuit without blunting the experience completely.
You want to make it to the point where it's just playable, to enjoy, but also to be reasonably difficult as well.
It's about maintaining that level of fun. Things are fun when you're driving around on the circuit. What I don't want you to do is to be losing the car completely and becoming frustrated with the simulation physics. You should be able to scale it so that you can find that point where it's exciting, you're consistent, it's a great level of fun, you're slicing and dicing with the other cars, the rain starts to come down and you can still control it. You want to be able to kick on the car coming out of a corner, but you want to be able to catch it. It's about feeling as though you're that hero driver.
The subtleties that come with Formula 1 as well, the challenges that are thrown up at you, that all add up into making your life difficult behind the wheel or control pad.
We've accurately modelled the tyre simulation. We've got blisters, we've got marbles, they've all got optimum tyre temperatures and ranges and performance zones, and it's going to be very key to the player as they manage their tyres throughout the session. As your fuel depletion comes, you're burning off fuel more and more, because obviously no fuel stops. The car gets lighter, and for every 10 kilos in real life, the car will normally go at about 3 to 4 tenths a lap faster, and that's in the game as well. I've been keen to try and get as many of those details into the game as possible.
the cars are expensive. It's 2 million plus for one of these cars, and if you damage them, the onus is on you, and the teams are very unhappy with your performance. So it's trying to make the cars fragile enough in the game that if you do tag another car or curb strikes too heavily or hitting cones, all these things can damage not only your car but also your performance, more importantly. So I've tried to include that in the game, and it will just hopefully teach people to race better online as well, and be more respectful of the cars around them.
For me, it has been unprecedented to be able to have a guy that's driving these cars come in and put us on the right path. His feedback is invaluable to getting that right.
We've got the real world numbers. We want the players to experience everything that the driver experiences.
From the real car to the computer game, it's very realistic.
Handling for myself and for the team is key in Formula 1 game, in any racing game.